So when you think about sailing camp for kids, you might think of sports like archery or soccer or swimming, maybe even sailing. But sailing can often feel out of reach for many families, especially in communities of color. This statistic shocked me when I read it. Only 0.1% of the country's sailing population is diverse. 0.1, guys. We hit the water to see how one sailing camp in beautiful Vermont is trying to change that in a state that has one of the least diverse populations in the country. Sometimes this thing swings over and you have to duck, right?
Yeah, the swing is when you tack a jibe.
And that means when you change directions?
Yeah, so you can change your course.
Siblings Robert and Mabel White are used to charting their own course.
People just seem surprised.
Why do you think they're surprised?
Because I'm the only black person that sails.
They're usually some of the only minorities they see sailing on shimmering Lake Champlain between Vermont and New York.
This is a refreshing feeling to have.
Does it help you clear your mind?
Yeah.
You both were like, yeah. The teens have been sailing since they were 6.
We're making our sail catch wind, right?
Now they're at a camp trying to change the face of sailing. Often seen as too white, too expensive, elitist, and historically exclusionary.
We're undoing damage that has happened in the sport from there being a whites only sign on the front door of a yacht club.
Owen Milne is at the helm of Burlington, Vermont's Community Sailing Center.
If sailing is our middle name, community is our first name.
To better live up to that first name, last year, the center started providing free sailing camp to kids from diverse backgrounds in the Burlington community, one rich with refugees and immigrants from places like Nepal and Congo. What was the racial makeup of the camp before this initiative and now?
We might have had 5 or 6 kids for a full summer.
Kids of color?
And that was out of 500. And now,
wow.
Right, 5 or 6 out of 500 is not okay.
Get ready for us to sail?
We're on track to hopefully get to 25% in the next few years. And we think we can get there.
To get there, the camp began advertising in 7 different languages, including Arabic, Somali, and Nepali, to find more campers like Adam Almatori, originally from Syria.
We get to kayak, we get to sail for free, and it's very fun to just go out in the water. I used to be scared of water, but now I can just jump in right now.
I want to see sails.
The idea for the camp to tackle its diversity problem came after this.
Hands up! Don't shoot, Black Lives Matter!
The national reckoning that followed the murder of George Floyd.
It's unfortunate that it took an uprising for this to end up on the front of our consciousness, but the reality of it is we don't want it to slip away, so that's why we've made this promise to these families that will extend out decades.
The goal is to reach as many kids as possible, not just so they can learn their way on the water. Tell me when I need to duck. But also the confidence and quick thinking needed in life. You okay? Donations allow diverse students like Finn Schonstrom, whose mother's Mexican and Native American, a free month of sailing camp for 4 years straight. That usually costs almost $7,000.
When my mom told me 4 weeks, 4 years, I was like, wait, you must be getting something wrong. That's crazy. It's and it's free. Yes, of course I'll do it.
It sounded too good to be true.
Yeah.
We actually promise to make it free for life. And then once they turn 15, they can work here as a junior instructor.
And your participants can get a job out of this at the end.
Yeah, why not? And we get great employees at the end of it.
Where's the wind coming from?
And the chance to help the sport spread its sails.
It's nice to see other people are joining.
Other black people?
Yeah, so more kids of color can experience it.
The magic of being on the water?
Yeah.
It is pretty magical, isn't it?
Yeah.
It was so magical. And this is about sailing, but it's also just about the fact that all kids need to be able to access all things.
Yeah.
And with sailing in particular, we talk about the importance of nature, but when you're on the water, it just kicks it up a notch because you're in a completely different atmosphere. You're hearing the water. You're really in the moment because you have to be reacting to all the elements. And I think that that's good for all of us.
I like what Owen says about understanding the need for diversity in this sport and in all things by watching what happened a couple of summers ago. That's the point sometimes, just change, a little empathy that changes hearts and changes minds.
Yeah, and just making sure that whatever you want to do, you have an opportunity to do it. I mean, that's just clearing obstacles. I don't know anything about sailing. If a captain of a sailboat went down or a pilot went down, I'd be more likely to land the plane than to be able to get the boat back to the harbor.
As long as you can tread water.
I would just be going where the wind took me.